Anyway, so yeah, let's. I want to talk about Dwight and Moira's date, and just the enemy that Dwight makes himself into in this scene. An enemy of all things that I hold sacred and dear. They go on this weird date. They get like lunch, and then they go to this museum. And there's like been art that's been made about like the end of the world and the war and stuff, which like kind of makes sense. And then the bit where I was like, this fucking guy is they come to this painting of Christ in front of a destroyed city. And Moira's like, oh, it's like really moving or whatever. And I cannot believe that Shute, like, and Dwight doesn't like it because it's inaccurate. And Shute puts his finger on something that is so prescient, it's almost incredible. He like, Shute looked up from his typewriter and went, what if I identified Cinema Sins 60 years before it happened? Because this is just a Cinema Sins guy being like, well, actually, that's actually not an accurate drawing of how New York would be. It's just phony. And he goes, I hate it like hell. She says, what don't you like about it? He says, everything. To me, it's just phony. No pilot in his senses would be flying as low as that with thermonuclear bombs going off all around. He'd get burned up. And then Moira goes, it's got good composition and good coloring. And he goes, sure, but the subject's phony. And then she goes, in what way? And I was like, this guy's my enemy. He says, if that's meant to be the RCA building, he's put Brooklyn Bridge on the New Jersey... Sorry, it's supposed to be said like this. If that's meant to be the RCA building, he's put Brooklyn Bridge on the New Jersey side and the Empire State in the middle of Central Park. And then she goes, it doesn't even say that it's New York. I'm like, yeah, bro, this guy sucks. It sucks. And
it was the style at the time. You don't understand.
You don't understand. Oh, man, it... Also, this conception of the American as such a cultural barbarist that Moira looks at this painting and she's like, it's emotive, it's effective. Her point about it's good composition and coloring, she's saying that the composition of the picture, that's the artist has moved certain objects around to make the composition work, right? That's like how art works, you know. In a shot, and I'm going to use the language of cinema because you two are both cinema guys, but like, you know, the language of cinema, you might cheat reality to make a shot work in a way that is technically incorrect, but feels right. It's the same thing in like art composition. And the American looking at this, his only thought is like, well, it's inaccurate because things aren't where they're meant to be, and a plane like that would never fly that low under those conditions. And it's like, I think Shute's imaginary of the contemporary American of the time is pretty dim. Like, he kind of looks at this guy and he goes, you know, this guy is this, he's fetishized the aesthetics of faith, and he's aestheticized and fetishized the idea of like facts and logic in a rejection of everything else. And he finds it to be cringe if you're too Christian and too religious. Like, he says that later where he's like, yeah, like, I don't go in for religion like that, because to double down on that and to be too enthusiastically, you know, fundamentalist would kind of, the best expression I could think of was like, it would sort of reveal that, you know, all of this is fruit of the same poison tree, right? This whole aesthetic operation, if you lean into that part too much, it kind of reveals the whole apparatus as kind of morally bankrupt. And I love that Shute is able to do this at all, in such a simple scene that you can fully read and just go, well, that was a nothing moment. But the more I sat with it, the more I was like, this is such an interesting reading to me that it's then he goes, he's then like, oh yeah, like, let's go look at the Renoirs. And I was like, this fucking guy. Like, to be into Renoir is like, that's like to say that you like, what's like a universal like food everyone likes. That's if someone's like, what's your favorite food? And you say pizza. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? What do you mean? Like, have an opinion. Just very, very funny to me that he likes the Renoirs.
Man's over here bashing on my favorite food.
Rant over. Pizza's great. Pizza's great. It's just, that's like, you know what I mean? That's such a basic bit. That's a like, that's like, well, I'm so animated about this because it bothers me so much. You may as well not have an opinion on food then. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who goes, if he'd said Van Gogh, I'd be like, that's my boy. Like, because Van Gogh was like very specific and if someone today asks you what your favorite like painter was, or your favorite like visual artist, and you said like Andy Warhol, like you've identified yourself as an enemy. It's the same kind of thing.
Who's that artist that who makes like doctor's office paintings that are really high contrast and they look a bit fantastical, but they're always about like hobbit houses on lakes and stuff like that. You know who I'm talking about? It's never mind. But anyway, that would be like a funny favorite artist to have.
Yeah, my encyclopedia goes deep, Pat, but that is not enough for me to go off of.
He's like famous for just like making the most like but like boring like cookie cutter like paintings that you just see in random offices and stuff.
Okay, I don't know who you're talking about, but I believe you.
But I mean that's completely in character for Dwight. I thought like because the Renoir paintings he looks at, aren't they just like just tranquil scenes of houses by a lake and people fishing or something like that, something along those vibes.
Yeah,
like that seems very like up Dwight's alley.
But the way that his internal monologue describes it is, it makes him seem a bit like a child, where he goes, they went and found the French art, first of all. To describe it as the French art is very funny. And he stood for some time before a painting of a river and a tree-shaded street beside it, with white houses and shops, very French and very colorful. Like a 5-year-old being like, I like this one. It's colorful. I'm being mean on purpose because I fucking hate this guy, but this really sealed the deal for me of like the way that Shute was imagining this American. Just so shallow. Everything is aesthetic, nothing is substantive. Brilliant, just brilliant writing.
Yeah.
You haven't read the best sentence yet.
What's that?
I like them when they're full of color and don't try to teach you anything.
Oh, my enemy, this guy, the nemesis. Truly. He also goes, the other line I fucking hated was he goes, I hope the other pictures made up for... Moira says, I hope the other pictures made up for the religious ones. Catching the fact that to him, art is like an equation. This is the type of motherfucker who goes, well, but did the $60 video game give me 60 hours of value? This is this type of guy. The type of guy to look at a game and go, how many features does it have? Instead of like, is it good art? And then he agrees and he goes, they certainly did. Shut up. Then he goes, this is where we get the line, but as for religion, that's just not my line. And then Moira says, this is exactly what James said before, you go to church regularly. And he says, oh, well, that's different. And she smartly decides not to argue with him about this, because what a bizarre thing to say.
Yeah, well, yeah. To him, like, going to church and saying a Hail Mary is a very different thing, I imagine.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this was sort of like the underlying, like, to what your point before, Pat, like, church to him is like a series of like ecclesiastic frameworks, or like, which is another way of saying like epistemological frameworks, right? Structures of meaning that produce the consistent reality that he operates within, more so than it is any real like thing that he believes in. It's a framework of morality, and it's a framework of community more than it's like an actual faith that he has. And this was my point about like the fruit of the poison tree, because if you get beneath it, you would ultimately he would have to accept, if he actually was able to come to that realization, he'd have to accept that he doesn't actually believe it, and if he accepts that, then all of these other frameworks go away and he has to build a new framework. That sounds like hard work.
Right. And religious paintings especially confront you with theology, right? Like, what are religious paintings going to be about, if not like, like drawing from every sort of source and motif from, the text, right? The text of the religious texts. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that sort of would make sense to me.